Today we'll be talking about game development, specifically how that relates to VR. To do that, we brought in a guest, a game developer from in-house, Brennan. Why don't you introduce yourself?
Hi, my name is Brennan Crowder. My background is computer science, game development. I love video games. I've been working here at KeyedIn for about 1.5 years and have had the awesome opportunity to work on some internal projects and external projects, such as this VR demo that we're going to be talking about.
Yeah, cool. And when I first met Brennan, like you said, about 1.5 years ago, he was just starting to play around with VR in browser, which blew me away. Like, first of all, I didn't know that was possible, with the bandwidth limitations and, optimization techniques now. Apparently it is, but that was super cool. And some of those early conversations we had, I know that you got me really excited about the possibilities. And now fast forward, a year and change later, we'll round up to 2 years. 2 years later, and you all have put together an awesome VR experience that we've been demoing, which a video of that is on our website at interactive.keybridge.us, showcasing some of that experience. But we just wanted to take today and talk a little bit about what it takes to develop in VR, kind of what's your tools of the trade, which is a little outside of our depth of knowledge. We can come up with James and I could come up with some good ideas, but the actual implementation we thought would be cool to get you in here and discuss some of these things. And starting off with equipment, that's a big thing. When people start talking about VR, it's like, well, what equipment do we need? And there's, everything from PlayStation VR to crazy things with cameras and hubs and all kinds of knickknacks and paddywhacks. And what is your weapon of choice? I guess for our needs.
So for our needs, we chose the MetaQuest 3. It is just everything you would want in a VR device. It is very easy to set up and use. Very intuitive. It's made by the people at Facebook or Meta. So the UI is really nice. It is just the great device.
To use it a little bit, testing out some of the demos you made, and it is comfortable. Like, you can see clearly. I think you kind of like lose yourself in it sometimes. I've had times where I felt like I was going to hurt my knees jumping off the cliff.
Another reason we chose it was it can do AR and VR. So it has a pass-through mode where you can overlay virtual elements in real life and kind of walk around, move around them, and also be able to avoid your surrounding obstacles so you don't run into tables or walls.
Yeah, and we don't want to sound this like we're peddling the headset. However, for our needs and for the needs of in a classroom, it is a very strong contender. One of the things, I was in ITSEC this previous year at ITSEC, and a lot of those vendors have crazy scaffolding and camera setups, and the learners are wearing vests, and they got all of this extra equipment, seemingly thousands of dollars worth of additional equipment that they've got strapped to the different things, whereas this is all you need is this headset and the controllers, and you're good to go.
Yeah. So it used to be like you used to have base stations were required. So 2 cameras you'd have to set up on some tripods or screw into the wall. But now these have modern headsets, at least, have cameras on the front that will provide you your tracking, give us 3D spatial positioning, and it also old VR headsets required massive computers to run whatever we need, but this kind of headset is standalone. It's like a game console, so there's no computer you have to lug around or plug it into. It works by itself.
Yeah, that's right. Because and that was with the the 10 series cards, right? Originally, when VR started getting big, like you needed a 1080 rig PC that you're plugging into those early headsets, or you had a PlayStation,
required graphics cards or required consoles.
Integrated graphics was not going to run a VR headset at the time, and you're tethered with a crazy tail to your PC.
Yeah, these are really comfortable. They just feels like almost nothing now. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's like you're wearing a hat.
Yep.
And they're relatively inexpensive. They're like $500 or less.
Yeah.
Which, if you're outfitting a classroom of these, or even just a set of 6 or something for your classroom, it still can be fairly reasonable compared to having the cost of having a PC that's in addition to the headset and all the rest of the gear.
Yeah.
Just, it's cheaper than paying a bunch of money to take somebody on a field trip, like VR to wherever.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And speaking of that, one of the cool things about the demo we're showing is the multiplayer.
Yeah.
Right? Speaking of field trips and people being in different locations. One of the super neat applications that we've used this for is from an instructor-student experience. Do you want to talk a little bit about that, Brennan?
Yeah. So one of the powers of multiplayer in a VR capacity is that you can have the instructor in a virtual environment with the student. So rather than the students by themselves trying to navigate, figure out, what parts of this model are the parts that are important, you get an instructor there directly pointing and guiding you through how to maybe set up this piece of equipment or tear it down, what to look out for, what parts might be confused. Like if there's 2 of the same looking button or lever, but they're in 2 different spots and do 2 different things, being able to give that kind of guidance is very, very powerful.
Yeah, it's it's augmenting instruction, and I think that the ability for just-in-time feedback, which is programmatically can be challenging to give the right feedback at the right cues at the right time. But if there's another human in there, being able to give that feedback immediately and be able to talk in real time and to be able to explain something, or even just stop the demo, right? And be like, okay, you clearly don't understand where you are or what you're supposed to do here. So let's stop real quick. Let's reset. Let's discuss what we're doing. And let's bring up the TM. And that's another cool feature in the demo.
Yeah. So in the VR demo, you can pull up the technical manual. It's like a 500-page long document, but you can walk through the steps. Right now, we set it to automatically open on whatever lesson you're doing at that time, but you can browse through all 500 pages, look at different parts. So, for instance, even though we set up 3 example demo lessons, we can go outside of those 3 lessons by the instructor could say, hey, flip to page 272. We're just going to walk through what this would look like, and they can point to the parts of the model because the machine is fully modeled and highly, highly detailed. So they could walk through other lessons or create their own lessons in that moment if they want to.
Yeah. And I guess let's talk a little bit about application. Like, we talked about like instructional application, but from your perspective, where do you think this shines? Like VR shines?
Yeah.
Like what kind of application?
Personally, I am a kinetic learner. I think that's what they're called, where I am a visual and kinetic. So I need to see and do whatever action. I can't just read a manual and, have an idea for what to do.
Yeah,
and so VR is so powerful with giving you that very, very easy access muscle memory. So walking through steps, physically, pulling, moving objects, touching buttons, getting a spatial feel for, okay, when I'm messing with these levers, the, whatever drum is to my right, and just having that spatial awareness while also, following a technical manual is very, very helpful.
I think we also need to bring up the fact that like a lot of these lessons are built for equipment that people don't have access to. So like this equipment's very expensive, and it's probably out in the field, and the schoolhouse probably wouldn't have like just tons of it right around for somebody to touch.
Yeah, VR also lets us, we can simulate perfect environments, but it also allows us to simulate specific like faults or fail points, but that's not limited to VR. All of our courseware does that, but it's very powerful in VR to also have that.
Yeah, that's an excellent point. Yeah, James this is very, at least the applications that we've been using as recently are for very bespoke pieces of equipment that are very large, and highly technical, and it's very procedural in nature, the instruction, where they're doing things from, setting something up or startup procedures, shutdown procedures, preventative maintenance, those kind of procedures, and really hitting safety as well. That's one of the other big applications of being able to simulate a lot of these safety concerns in a safe environment before they actually get in front of some of this, big, heavy, dangerous equipment, and be able to walk through a lot of those things before they get, crunched or poked or whatever it is that they could, and getting some experience and I'm assuming just have a higher level of confidence going into the actual situation.
Yeah. I think I've played through it so many times. I'd be confident if I was ever presented with the piece of machinery, I could do the setup and shut down blindfolded.
I've only played it once, so I'd have to do it with you. I don't think I could do it by myself.
But that's the multiplayer, right? He'd be in there and be an instructor for you.
Yep.
Yeah.
One of the other challenges with VR is VR sickness, right? Motion sickness. Yeah, people have talked about that, or claustrophobia, or these other things.
We have to be very careful when developing a VR application. That has to be our main focus, because it's such a turnoff for people who are maybe wanting to do VR. Is if they have motion sickness, it can ruin your experience. So there's a couple of considerations that we have to make, and we did make with this showcase project. The first and probably most important is just FPS. If you're not reaching, so 72 FPS is the suggested.
And what is FPS?
Frames per second. So how fast the game renders each second.
Okay.
So 72 is the dream for VR specifically. 60 FPS is all right. 45 and below, you get into motion sickness situations. And the reason that is that as you're turning in real life, if your frames are like lagging behind, you get a disconnect between what you're seeing and what your body is feeling, and that really messes with
glitch of the matrix.
Yes, exactly. Yeah,
your inner ear can't take it. Next thing you know, I did hear a quote from someone saying that older people might have a problem. I don't know if that's actually true. Of like, younger individuals are less prone to this sickness versus older individuals.
I think it kind of attacks everyone equally. It's just, there is something to say where younger people are more used to staring at a screen. But, you can get used to this kind of motion sickness. You just got to trick your brain, and we help doing that. And there's also more like techniques we do to reduce motion sickness. So aside from FPS, there is also not forcefully moving the player, or if we do, making sure that we fade to black before we forcefully move them. And this actually does provide a lot of technical challenges, because if we can't forcefully move a player, then we can't forcefully stop them from walking through walls. And so a way to combat that is anytime you try to stick your head through a wall, we fade you to black, and then we can stop you from moving, because it's as if your eyes are closed.
Yeah, and I think you bring up a good point. We don't want to necessarily accommodate motion sickness. We want to prevent it through design.
Yeah.
Right. And at the end of the day, doing everything that we can on the technical side to make sure that we have an environment that promotes a non-motion sick environment. Right.
Yeah.
Part of that is, go ahead.
Sorry. Customization is another big thing that combats motion sickness, because everyone's a little bit different with what they want and what helps. So having settings to change how you turn in game, whether you snap whenever you hit the joystick, like snap turn, or whether it's a smooth motion, or altogether disabled and you need to physically turn in real life. Same thing for movement, whether you use a joystick to move around, or maybe, point and click at a spot on the ground to teleport. Having those different options in locomotion really helps. You can pick what you think will be best for you, to combat motion sickness.
That's a great point. And so, if our standard is, our number one variable is our frames per second, and making sure that is as high as possible goes into our optimization. Right. So can you talk a little bit about, some of the optimization techniques and things that you're really looking at, especially when we're talking about these fairly complex pieces of equipment.
Right. So with VR and this device, honestly, specifically, because this is a mobile device, one of the biggest things that we need to optimize is what's called overdraw. This is whenever two transparent objects overlap, and it causes a performance issue. And a way to combat that is avoiding stuff like foliage, which can be a big challenge because a lot of our scenes need to look realistic, and real life has foliage. So a way that we do this is with what's called level of detail, or LODs. So we have different versions of a model with less and less complexity. So the farther away something is, we can have it be have lower complexity, which will really reduce overdraw because it will have less leaves as the tree is farther away from you, or more leaves whenever the tree is up close whenever you're looking at the details.
Yeah, there's some cool tricks, and we have some of those that are in the Devo now. We have trees, we have foliage and grass and those things, all those little polys that you have to render. So with that being said, I mentioned the browser version. And obviously, if we're using a standalone version, we get a much higher fidelity, right? Because we have more power on the back end,
right?
Versus the limitations of running something in a browser, and we have only a certain amount of memory that we can utilize for a browser. So, can you talk a little bit about the difference between performance between those two, and how we get around some of that?
So, browser versus standalone. The biggest difference is that in a browser, we are single-threaded, which means that we have to do game logic and then do rendering. We can't do them simultaneously, which standalone does, and that's what gives us a larger headroom for more complex models or situations. Because they're single-threaded, our models have to be, in a browser, have to be extremely optimized. And so this can come at a cost of the digital fidelity, because we can't have 2 million triangle count models or 4K textures. But I mean, that's not to say that we can't make it feel realistic. It's a common thing in game development where stuff that is not important is not high quality, high quality models, like your grass or little nuts and bolts sometimes aren't even modeled and they're just painted on. So you can still get a feel for the important parts of a model without having the entire thing be super high quality, super high triangle count.
But also, it's give and take, right? So it's accessibility. The accessibility of being able to run VR in a browser, right, which is accessible to literally anyone at this point. As long as they have a headset. I think that is the trade-off, right? You're going to still get a VR experience that has a high frame rate, that is still going to meet that instructional need. And from a design perspective, is going to have all those design considerations. It just might not be the most polished version that is available due to those bandwidth restrictions or the memory restriction processing.
And technology is not getting worse. So, going forward, we're going to be able to, have higher and higher quality models. Like some browsers recently have introduced multi-threading, some browsers. And so once
Did I know that? I don't think I knew that.
Once our game engines start taking advantage of that, our abilities will skyrocket. There's also WebGL, which is the web graphics library, is kind of the current standard for 3D.
It's been around for years and years.
There's a new technology, WebGPU, that is being introduced that will also boost kind of what we're able to show on screen at any given time.
As far as I'm still interested in the multi-threaded browsers. Who's putting those?
So Google Chrome has access to it. So we use the Unity game engine, and so a lot of our restrictions are, what Unity has provided access points to. We could do the low level. It's just that it's easier just to use a game engine. And currently, multi-threading is locked to raw C++. It's not available at a higher level yet.
Okay, that's super cool. Do they have a timeline on that, or do we have a timeline on that? Yes, something will be.
I don't believe we do.
Okay, that's something to look out for. I guess looking at our having gone through a couple of these development cycles and making some of these experiences, what do you think the main challenges are as we move forward? Both as a, and that could be as a company itself or just as an industry.
Yeah. I think our main challenges are going to be convincing people to take the plunge into VR. It's very scary still. It's been around for a while, and people have this idea that it's not, it's not there yet. When in reality, there are now a handful of large companies developing solely VR devices. Like MetaQuest, support for that is going to be continuing for years. Apple Vision Pro released recently, HTC Vive, like all these VR devices that, and the setup also, it's so easy now with the new devices. There's no longer, or I think there shouldn't be that scare of, VR is this, trial technology, it's not ready yet, when in reality, it absolutely is.
I think a lot more people are being more open to it. Recently, I saw some congressmen in some city, some smaller city, passed some bill to make it a part of the public school curriculum.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so I don't know if people are just becoming more aware of it, or the comfortability is changing.
Well, also, I think some of the bigger problems of this slow adoption, especially in our space, is that people are trying to do so much with it. Yeah. Right? Yeah. They're trying to do these over the top crazy things, whereas you don't need to do for the educational outcome that we're looking for. You don't have to do this insane content and equipment. I mean, you can have a very relatively affordable headset. Yeah. You can have a well thought out and designed experience that hits the educational need, for a fairly affordable package price. Yep. And you don't have to dump, all of this money into these experiences. And I think that's part of the adoption issue. Yeah. Right. Is people don't understand how easy it is actually to get into the space. Right. And you don't have to go to the high end. Right. And a lot of that I don't think is very necessary for what we're doing.
Yeah. I'd say a lot of our 3D courses could be transformed into VR with relative, almost no loss in functionality. You'd only gain, immersion, maybe gain some more kinetic feedback, but yeah. Yeah.
And the benefit of that is just, engagement, student learner engagement, and safety awareness of this equipment. And I think it's exponentially raises all those things. So yep. I think it's worth it. People will realize it's worth it.
Yeah. So so we talked a little bit about wins, but what other as far as where do we go from here? What are you looking forward to on the horizon?
Yeah. So I'm wanting to go into more AR development. So currently we've had a focus on virtual reality, which basically means the entire environment is virtual. There's no camera access. But I think that there's a really strong application also with augmented reality or AR, where we overlay 3D objects in real world environments. This would allow you to maybe be in front of the actual piece of equipment and have a technical manual or something on your screen at all times, so you can work hands-free, or if maybe a piece of equipment's being used by someone else, having a virtual version of that, in the place where maybe it would normally be, and just, blending the environments of real life and virtual.
Yeah. And I have mixed feelings on the Meta glasses. Yeah. For people, I have a friend who wears them, and I'm like, come on, man.
Is it because that commercial is terrible?
Probably. I don't know if I've seen the commercial, but yes. But just thinking about that, I'm like, how quickly you can see the blend between those glasses and something like this, right? For an AR experience, and how, you don't really have to squint very hard to see the future, right? For a lot of these applications, and being able to blend, even this headset, right? Or moving away from the headset And we haven't really talked about the hand tracking, actually.
Yeah.
Which is another interesting aspect of how far away do you think we are from not needing
Controllers.
Yeah, controllers.
I do think it is in the close future that we'll be able to go controllerless. Right now, it is still very limiting because unlike controllers, we don't have a lot of buttons on our hands.
Yeah.
So what we have to do is
Yet.
right. Yes, as technology advances, but we require gestures at the moment. So actions that would normally be like pressing a trigger or left click on a mouse are now pinch. So as VR developers decide, what are those gestures? What is intuitive for trying to pick up an object, but also easy enough for a computer to, pick out and register as being an action that you're performing. It is getting very, very good. MetaQuest, I think, is at kind of the forefront. The Apple Vision Pro is also there. We're getting more and more very immersive hand-only interactions.
Yeah. I mean, the Power Glove came out in the 80s.
Right.
So, I don't know why it's taking this long.
Yeah.
Can't I just get a cool glove? One shiny glove, like Michael Jackson, where I can...
Gloves are fairly gimmicky. You do look silly if you were to wear them. A lot of people like the controllers because they're made to be like a game controller.
Yeah.
If you put them together, that's an Xbox controller or a gamepad.
Yeah.
For gamers, I thought it was really intuitive.
Yes.
I remember where you were taking me through the demo, and I could do it in a minute without any instruction.
Yeah. So that's kind of, I think that's the reason why hand tracking is not there yet, is because headsets right now are advertised for gamers, and so they're trying to make them as intuitive for a gamer to jump into at the moment, as opposed to making them, hands-free or controllers-free devices.
And I think that goes back to the adoption issue as well, right? Of like, these are marketed for games only,
right? And
I know that there's some educational spaces and industry spaces that are using more VR or have been using VR. I know they're going to more AR and now even implementing some AI. So I think that, I'm looking forward to see where this goes. I think that we have a really powerful weapon in fighting ignorance with VR, right? And I think that the work that you all are doing is absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Tim.
Yeah, absolutely. So I look forward to more. But that's kind of a preview for VR, our VR demo. And again, if you want to see more, we have a video up on the website at interactive.keybridge.us that you can go check out. Also on our YouTube channel.
Burgeoning YouTube channel.
Yeah, that's right. We have a couple of videos up there. We'll have to add a few more. Maybe some of this will be up there as well. Let's see. Next week, will be episode 4. We'll be veering off into different things that we're experts in, like visual design. Cool.
Thank you guys for checking us out. We appreciate you coming and visiting us every time you do. And we're just going to keep making cool episodes for you. So thank you.
Yeah. Thanks for listening.